pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's Tuesday, October the 3rd, 2023, time being 6 p.m. The meeting of the Greensburg Water Board is called to order. This time, please silence all electronic devices. To comply with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the city requests that participants in this meeting complete a voluntary anonymous survey that's located on the table in the back of the room. We have a roll call, please.
Yes. Patrick Kennedy. Here. Frank Massey. Here. Robin Meyer.
Here.
Tony Higginbotham.
Here.
Ryan Maddox.
Here.
Very good. Y'all got a copy of the minutes from last month's meeting? Anybody have any additions, corrections? Mr. Massey?
No, sir.
Very well. Consider them approved. Nothing on the agenda. Old business, new business, employee recognition. Rick, would you come up for us, please?
What do we have here?
This is our final in a long stream of several months of recognizing all of the good men and women that take care of our company and our city. We praised Donna a little bit last month. We appreciate all Donna does in her department. And Rick, you're last. So last.
So I pretty much, my number one thing is to supply clean drinking water to the customers of the city of Greensburg. So stay in compliance with state and federal regulations. I take care of anything from timesheets to ordering chemicals to water towers to Upland Reservoir, Flat Rock River, monthly samples, quarterly samples, annual samples, monthly reports, DNR reports, consumer confidence reports each year. The IEAP I'm getting ready to present to you, the surface water emergency response plans, everything has to be updated every so often. So pretty much if it's got water running through it, in it, on it, treating it, I have something to do with it at one time or another. So, and I enjoy every bit of it.
Tell us about yourself.
Started in 96.
1996.
Yep, so think October of 96 actually.
Very good.
So sometime this month I got an anniversary.
Very good.
Wife, got 4 kids.
What's your hobbies? What do you like to do? What's your hobbies?
Fish.
Fish?
Fish.
Yeah.
And every once in a while I like to fish. So I do a little hunting, you know. I have little remote control airplanes I go out just to burn some steam off too. So.
Well, let me ask you. Did you ever think when you started in '96 you'd be here today? And what do you think's the neatest thing that has happened in those 20 plus years?
Robin, honestly, I can't pinpoint one thing. I can say when I started in '96, I mean, we've came a long way because we used to work out of the back of 2 pickup trucks. We had a 5-gallon bucket that we put our parts and our material in, and this is no kidding, and we'd set it in the back of the truck and we'd go do a job. So we've came a long way from, you know, not just equipment, but, you know, just people I work with. I mean, just everybody just gets along so good, and I think everybody there thoroughly enjoys coming in, and like, you know, you've heard all my people say it, just the camaraderie we have there, and you know, actually I was talking to the mayor earlier. It seems like since I've been here, we've been doing nothing but. I shouldn't say that. Construction.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, it is. That's exactly what the mayor said. He said, you know, that's a good thing. So, you know, we've been very proactive because if you stop and think about it, and you look back at the years past, in the last 20 years, I mean, we have a brand new, a new 24-inch roll water line. We have a new river intake. We have a new groundwater plant. We have a new surface water plant. 2 new towers. You know, we're looking at our 3rd one now that was built in 1954. It's not leaking, but it's time for attention. So I think we're being proactive in that aspect. So from treatment to distribution to, you know, I think we've done very well compared to other communities. I really do.
We're very glad. You know, we're happy with the work that you've done, Rick. leadership, as well as Donna's leadership in your respective departments that has, you know, kept your turnover low and kept your good people working. And we appreciate all you've done and where we've been and where we're at now. So we're going to applaud you right now for what you've done. I got a little something for you here. I forgot to order the flowers.
Let's wait for the daisies.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
I just want to make one comment. There has not been a time that I have seen Rick on a job in the middle of the night or when it's 40 below zero or whatever time the situation is. He's out there in the middle of it too, every single time. So.
That's right. I think we've all seen that.
Yep.
So, Rick, we appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Darren, with that, we'll let you come up and tell us what you got.
Good evening. I don't have a lot new. You guys kind of had this, we talked about this a little bit last month, but this is the final version, all cleaned up with the pictures and everything. So I will say, I kind of recap a few things. We did look at a total of 8 alternatives. Two of those were just involved rehabbing the existing tank, and then the other 6 were involved either a 500,000 or a 1 million gallon tank at 3 different sites. So that's how we come up with the 8. Right off the bat, there wasn't a significant difference, and if we were to increase the tank size from a 500,000 to 1 million, so the recommendation would be always to stay with the 1 million, whether you rehab or if you were looking at building a new tank, or stay with 500,000 versus the 1 million. A couple other things we did look at, was the available fire flow at the various sites, and basically that I'll call it the south tank or the old legged tank really provides the fire protection kind of for the southwest side of the city of Greensburg. So it's basically kind of looks at it from basically Broadway a little bit to the east, and then on 46 or Main Street, and then down to Park Road, and kind of that area in that area. So that's really where the emphasis are, because the rest of the city gets supplies from the other tank or from the treatment plant itself. So taking the tank out of service without doing anything does drop your fire flow protection. Existing, it averages across the entire city about 2,100 gallons a minute. If you took that tank just out of commission, that average drops down to about 1994. It's still it's a significant drop, but it's still kind of the rule of thumb for like residential. You want to see at least 1,500 gallons a minute type of thing. It's probably not enough for industrial. Industrial usually is 25 to 3,000 or better. So that's to keep that in mind. But we did a lot of the modeling and analysis, and you can, in your leisure, if you want to look through that, you'll see all the graphs. Kind of the key thing to point there is they're very similar. So that tells you that the sites we chose didn't really have a major impact on one site was better than the other, with the exception of the site that was kind of on the north end. There is a map in here, kind of, it would be, if you look at that, so on page 3 there. Site number 2, or tank number 2 site, that did not have near the impact on the industrial areas west of town on 46. And that's mainly due because it's kind of disconnected. There's no lines that connect where that tank would be placed to 46 there. So it really doesn't, it's probably not the best location for if you're looking at replacing the tank, because it really doesn't impact that. The other 2 sites, proposed sites, do work as well. Kind of going, and I'll kind of keep this. If you turn to page 15, 16, those 2 pages, that's kind of a summary recommendation. It has the cost in there for all of them as well. And then as far as our recommendations, kind of indicated before, the alternatives with a 1 million gallon tank, we can eliminate that. It's not cost effective. You're better just to stay with 500,000. And the site number 2, as I just said, is the best site. Site 1, which is directly south of the existing tank, and site 3 is located along 46 there on the west side of town, out near the industries as well. Site 1 has less additional water lines that you would have to construct, so consequently that's going to be the cheaper alternative of the sites with the new tank. The other sites have a little more line work associated with them. So, kind of looking at that from a standpoint of, initially it's probably site number 1 makes it's most cost effective. It's going to be the cheapest. We also made the assumption that it's the land cost would be very minimal, if any. I don't know if that's the right assumption or not, but that's the assumption we made because it is located. It's not on private land. It wouldn't be on private land. The other sites are the sites probably the land value is a little higher, so that's one of the other assumptions. Long term, you always like to locate these tanks where you anticipate the biggest demand or where future growth could occur. So out west of town makes a little more sense for that. So from that, we'll kind of leave it at that. The other big thing that came out of this evaluation was that the looping of that system. Right now, that system is not looped. You basically run out Park Road and it kind of dead ends, and you run out West Main and it kind of dead ends. The idea would be we need to get those looped. That has as big of impact as where you locate the tank, looping those lines as anything does as far as the location of the tank. So from that standpoint, I know that a couple of projects is being proposed, that some of the NDOT work that I would highly encourage you to participate and making sure that you would, I know NDOT usually if they're replacing lines, they're replacing kind, which means they replace with the same size line. Now if you want to though, usually you can pay the cost difference to upsize it to whatever size you want. I would encourage that if that's possible, so that you would, there's some economy, there's some savings there if you could, there's one cost to put in the water line, whether if it's an 8-inch, it costs something. The cost is to go to a 12-inch is significantly less. A lot of times it's just the cost of the pipe itself. So I would encourage that with those NDOT projects that you go through there and get those participated and try to get those upsized so that you get that. And what I'd be looking at, we modeled it based upon extending that loop to be a 12-inch line. So, as far as the overall recommendation, obviously rehabbing the existing tank is the most cost-effective at this point in time. I would not recommend it, given the fact that it's a 70-plus-year-old tank and spending almost $1.5 million on a set piece of equipment that's 70 years old. I don't know if that's your best use of your funds. It'd be better off to maybe spend a little more and get a tank that's going to last you another 70-plus years versus rehabbing that old tank. You're still probably going to, your rehab and your maintenance costs are going to continue to probably increase with the age of that tank. So asking for a recommendation, I would recommend you look at replacing that tank. A couple of the other things, it's pretty hard to put a dollar amount to. If you were to build a new tank, obviously from an operational standpoint, you can leave the existing tank in service, you build a new tank, and then you have a very short window of the transfer over to the new tank, and then you would start the decommissioning of the existing tank. So from operational side of things, it would be a very short interruption of your current operations thing. So that's a positive. It's hard to put a dollar amount on that. The other thing is the existing tank is in, it's in the downtown area. There's several businesses close by. Even demoing it, but if you were to rehab that, you're going to impact those businesses for rehabbing that tank a significant longer period of time than if you were to just demo that existing tank. So those are a couple things that's pretty hard to put a dollar amount to, but there is value there in doing that as well. I think I'll stop there and ask it if you guys have any questions.
Do you like alternate for 5? I mean, just as far as the west side of town, the 500 and that side out there as far as?
Yeah, if, I do like that from the standpoint that, it is closer to where your big water users are. Now, that site really doesn't work unless you get the lines looped. That's critical to that, and that's why that cost is so hard, because it's including some of those costs. So, and that's the other thing to look at. We've included it as if you guys were doing all the water line replacements yourselves. If they're part of an NDOT project, then those costs would come down somewhat. So, from that standpoint, that's probably, I mean, from long term, if you're looking beyond what I'm going to worry about it, yeah. Looking for the next 10 years or so, either of the sites, either the 1 or the 3 works. So, there's some advantages of 3-1. It's, the amount of water line that you'd have to build is probably under 200 feet. I think it's even less than that. So, I mean, it would basically just be building a new tank. And assuming that land would be available, it would be pretty straightforward project from that standpoint. Whereas the other site, you're probably looking at having to obtain some land. And we just chose basically this area out there on the west side of town that was open. If there's some sites along that route that's available that we didn't really look at, I mean, that's another option too, that if there's some land out there that could be obtained fairly inexpensively, maybe something that also look at. Again, when you're looking at needing about ideally you need at least 2 acres, and somewhere in 2 to 5 acres would be optimal. It gives you a little more room to lay down. Also gives you a little more buffer when you go to paint them in the future, that you don't have to worry about tenting it or anything like that. So you don't have to worry about overspray and that sort of thing. So that's how I convinced Honda to put it out there by the roadway. They originally had it up there next to their, they were putting it in the middle of their site, and I said, you got a lot of cars parked out there. You really want us to paint that with all those new cars sitting out there? And that was literally, I had that phone conversation, and there was this dead silence, and we'll get back to you. About 20 minutes later, he called me and said, put it out there by the road.
What other questions you have for Darren? What's the timetable look like?
Typically you start design, and depending on sites and survey, your design's probably 4 to 6 months, something like that. Then you go to construction. Construction is a little more tricky, given that you have the coating systems that have to be done during a certain period of year. So, my cardinal rule, I didn't bring my water, about ready to choke. I would say 12 to 18 months, would you say, Frank?
Mm-hmm.
Construction, something like that. So
You don't want to have the construction season in the middle or painting in the winter, because it doesn't do any good. So you want to try to make it work, incorporate the whole season.
What else you have, Frank? You're the expert. Any other questions at this time?
No, I'm good for now. So I like it, what he said about making that big area, keep it that way, and not build everything underneath it, keep it where it's exactly right. So make this in the future, if you're gonna do it, if you can, keep that space open around it, so.
now I forgot to look. Do you have any? utilities that are using that tower as repeaters or anything?
There was at one time, but I don't know that we are now. I know we are in the east tower.
Does that include any cost of relocating those
I
kind
don't-
of things?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
So, Mr. Mayor, you got anything to add? Anything else?
Nope.
I guess the other thing, obviously it's a pretty expensive project, so I guess as you're doing your capital improvement plan, then start including that so that you could build up some funds for that.
All right.
I guess that would be the only thing. Donna and I have talked about that. Our rate study is due again next year, so we will start that next year, and then the idea is that that's effective 25 through whenever. So if we do want to proceed with this, we can work on SRF and other options and funding options, knowing that if we are going to proceed that direction, we can work that into the rate study. So that would be good.
When are you gonna retire then?
Since water tower's done.
Just have
I probably promised some people in this room a couple of years.
we need one more tank to get it.
I'd have all of them, wouldn't I? Yeah.
Very good, thank you, Darren. We'll certainly take this under advisement. I'm sure we'll be talking about it more in the future. Thank you, Darren, for all your work that you've done with this group and the city for many, many years, so we appreciate that. Rick, you coming up for Reservoir IEAP approval?
Incident and emergency response plan.
That's a 107-page document that you
Actually,
sent us.
yeah.
Thank you.
We would-
Everybody read that?
I did. I got a question.
You-
Go ahead.
Okay. Hope I can answer them.
Okay.
So, did you read the cover letter that came with it? There was a few things that we needed to get taken care of. Was, I'm assuming I'm gonna be the IEAP coordinator.
That was my first question, who's gonna be?
Yeah, and I did get with the mayor, and Kristen is going to be the public information officer. That's what her title, that's what she does, so she'll be listed as that. The only other thing that I listed was they needed the, somebody that if something would happen, who we would call to come in, and Dave O'Mara obviously would have the equipment and the know-how to come in and start the repairs. So I'm gonna have them listed in the incident emergency action plan. And then the Wisdom Lake owner, they want the name and address of them listed in this so they can be notified as well. So if you went through the plan itself, there was 3 different levels of incidents that if it happened, and what needed to be done, and they went as far as to actually, if we had to notify the National Weather Service, it's got the road numbers and everything listed that would be affected with the flash flood. So it looked pretty, when this happens, if I got like 3 days to read through it, each detail in 10 years from now. So it's very thorough, and I think that's what the state's looking for, actually. So I guess I just need your approval to go ahead and get a hold of Christopher Burke, and after Frank's questions.
Do they contact the people that they put on the list, and know their name is on there?
Did Christopher Burke contact the people? No. No.
I mean, it's like.
All they did was look at local
Okay, I didn't know
companies
if
that
they were
supply
aware,
that. No.
they were aware they were gonna be called or something, or?
No.
No, okay. And I didn't see anything on there in today's world of social media kind of put that on. Kristen may do that, but it was like TV and radio and.
Right.
Is that, they never brought that up?
And I did see that they just listed the Greensburg Daily News and WTRA.
Curious
That was the only 2 things that they had listed in there.
if
as
you
well,
needed to
so-
or not, I didn't know. Quick as that gets around in that, I didn't see
Yeah.
anything in there.
I would assume, Kristen, that's what they do now, is they put everything, everything's on social media, right, to get it out there
Pretty much.
and around and.
I mean, rather than calling a radio station, you think instantly everybody would know it. I didn't know if that was.
Right.
did, or we do it anyway, I guess.
The state does not recognize social media as an official public notice platform yet. So I imagine that's why Burke has those listed.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
We
Really?
can't, yeah, they're not it's not a recognized publication platform.
You know everything.
Which don't make a lot of sense to me, so.
No.
Everybody has social media, right?
Yeah. No, that's all I had. I just had a couple of things that jumped out. I wasn't sure if the contractors and people were notified ahead, or they just looked geographically, or how that worked.
Yeah, that's what they do. And then they recommend every 3 years that we, have a meeting and do some incidents. Hey, we got a crack in the dam, or, what everybody's responsibility is. And then update, obviously,
Yeah.
keep it updated. It's the same thing with the wellhead protection plan, everything we just talked about. It has to be updated every so often, and which is a good thing, because if you don't, then it's no good, so.
So is that what you consider practicing the plan once every 3 years when we get together and do a little tabletop on it? Is that-
Right.
Okay. Have we practiced any kind of an emergency incident plan on them?
We've had meetings on like the wellhead protection plan in the past, something like this. I mean, this is new to me, so, but it was, they just mandated it, I think, this year that we had to have it, so.
Okay. So what are you asking us to approve tonight?
This plan, with the corrections, or, the two, Dave O'Meara and Joe Hanneman entered into this plan as well. And then I can contact Christopher Burke and say it's a go, and I believe that he also wants to have a meeting, that's what it said in there, to get back together one more time and talk things over, so.
What's that time frame look like?
I'll contact him tomorrow, and yay or nay, so.
Okay. That's pretty extensive, so if you haven't had a chance to review it, it'd be a good thing to do. What's your pleasure?
Make a motion, we approve the IEAP.
Motion for the IEAP. Pat will second it? Okay, very good. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. There's your IEAP.
Thank you.
That's good. I think it's important to have one of these. You just never know anymore.
I know.
You never know.
I never would have thought of sending out a flash flood warning.
Yeah.
I mean, that was interesting,
Yeah.
about the weather service.
All right, what else you got, Rick?
And I completed the September MRO, which was in your packets yesterday, and included those, I think yesterday, yeah.
Yep.
You got any questions on it? Nothing?
Questions for Rick? That's all you got?
That's all I got.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mayor, you have anything to add?
Yes, sir.
Nope. All right, at this time, I'll just wanted to announce that I'll be stepping off of this board at the end of this year. I think I've been on here for 4 years, so time to move on. A lot of things have happened, so we've got a couple more months. But anyway, just want to make that announcement, and Mayor, I'm sure will be appointing someone for replacement, and this group will elect a new leader moving forward, so we'll make that announcement tonight. Anything else to come before the board tonight? Meeting adjourned.